Hey, welcome back. Today we're going to dive into something I find fascinating, this incredible web of science. We're going to explore how all these different fields we learn about, biology, chemistry, physics, geology, aren't really separate at all. They're all woven together, and understanding that gives us a way richer picture of, well, everything. So, let's jump in.
Okay, so think back to school for a minute. You probably had biology class, then a separate chemistry class, and then physics class, right? We're kind of taught to see them as these completely separate subjects, each in its own little box. But is that really how science works out in the real world? That's the big question we're tackling today.
So first up, let's look at that traditional view. Now, this whole four pillars way of thinking isn't wrong, not at all. It's just maybe a little incomplete. For centuries, organizing science like this was actually super helpful for building up our knowledge. And you can see why, right? This classic structure gives us a clear focus. If you're passionate about life and living things, you head over to biology. If you want to know what stuff is made of and how it all reacts, you turn to chemistry. It gives us a framework, a clear place to start asking questions.
So here are the basics, the big four. You've got biology, the study of life itself. Chemistry, which is all about matter and how it changes. Physics, that's the really fundamental stuff, energy, forces, the rules of the universe. And then geology, which is basically the story of our planet. These are the pillars we all learn about.
Okay, but here's where things get really, really interesting. The most exciting, game-changing discoveries happening right now, they're not happening neatly inside one of those pillars. Nope, they're happening in the gaps between them. The lines are blurring, and believe me, that's a very good thing.
And there's a name for this, of course, interdisciplinary science. The whole idea isn't to get rid of the pillars, but to build bridges between them. It sounds simple, but it's an incredibly powerful concept. When you combine knowledge from different fields, you can suddenly start to answer questions that were way too complex before.
Want a perfect example? Look no further than biochemistry. It literally takes biology, the study of life, and smashes it together with chemistry, the study of molecules. And what's the result? Well, we can finally understand things like DNA, metabolism, basically how our bodies actually work on a chemical level. It's a perfect fusion.
And you know, this whole idea of integration, it goes even deeper than that. It's not just changing what scientists study, it's totally changing how they work together.
This brings us to something even more connected, called transdisciplinary science. Now, the key phrase here is from the start. This isn't just a biologist asking a chemist for help down the line. We're talking about a biologist, a chemist, a physicist, and maybe even an engineer, all in the same room from day one, creating entirely new ways of thinking to solve a problem that none of them could handle alone.
And this really gets to the heart of the matter. The whole idea of the lone genius scientist having a eureka moment is, well, it's mostly a myth. Science is a team sport. Every single discovery, every breakthrough is built on the work of countless other people, often from fields you would never expect. It's a massive collaborative human project. So, if it's this giant, collaborative engine, how does that engine actually build knowledge? What's the process that takes us from just a simple question to a reliable scientific fact?
It all comes down to the scientific process. It starts with observing something and then running experiments. And here's the most critical part. Those experiments have to be repeatable. Other scientists need to be able to verify your results. It's only after you have a mountain of that verified evidence that you can form a solid theory or law, which then becomes the foundation for the next wave of research.
Now, this brings up something that confuses a lot of people, the difference between a scientific theory and a law. So a law describes what happens. For instance, the law of gravity describes the fact that if you drop an apple, it falls. But a theory explains why it happens. Einstein's theory of general relativity is our big explanation for why gravity works the way it does. So a theory is not a hunch, it's the most powerful explanation we have.
So why does all this matter? Why have we been talking about these connections and how knowledge is built? Because this isn't just some dusty academic idea. It's absolutely essential for our future. Just think about the biggest challenges we're facing. To really get a handle on climate change, you need geologists, chemists, physicists, and biologists all working together. If you want to find new cures for diseases, you need that same intense collaboration. These problems are just too big, too complex for any one field to solve on its own.
So the takeaway is pretty clear. We need one single integrated approach. We have to see science as this interconnected web of knowledge, because that web is our most powerful tool for solving our most difficult problems.
And that leaves us with a final and pretty fascinating question. We saw how connecting biology and chemistry gave us the entire field of biochemistry. So what's next? What happens when we forge even deeper connections between, say, physics and geology, or biology and artificial intelligence? What monumental challenge will we solve next, just by connecting the dots? Thanks for watching.